Hello.
Hey,
Hi, it's St. Schmidt. I hope my name is showing up correctly. So the
yeah,
two of
it
us.
is.
Great, wonderful.
Yeah,
Just the two of us?
it seems so. I I think there's people watching, but I'm not actually sure if their videos are
Right.
on. So it
Yeah.
must be us two just talking to each other.
I see two of nine.
Yeah,
I didn't see any questions yet.
yeah. So I'm assuming the questions will maybe show up on the chat, right, as we go. Is that
Correct, that's what I'm assuming. So there's no questions there yet that I see. But,
not yet? Yeah, very interesting. And this is a 30-minute panel, yeah?
okay, that's good. We can meditate a bit.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
Let's,
I'm actually hopping between conferences right now, so I'm standing in for somebody else and conference in the US right now. So
oh,
um,
okay. But are you in Germany or are you in the US?
no, I'm physically in Germany, but I'm
Physically,
physically in Berlin, yes.
got it. Very
But
cool.
virtually in the US in a second conference.
Nice, nice.
And
Okay.
you yourself?
Yeah, in the office currently in the beautiful area of Wedding.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
In
Yeah,
Berlin.
I'm in, I'm in Mitte, so we're very close to each other. We passed
Oh,
the,
very nice. Very
yeah.
nice. Cool. Are you at the Charité campuses in the Mitte or are you
Yes, yes, exactly. So but just past the main train station.
got
When
it.
you cross that bridge, right through that door, that's where we are. And there's the new building behind the high rise. We'll
Mm,
be moving into that in the beginning of 2022 if everything works out.
got it. Got it. Okay, great. Cool. Yeah, no, I'm here at the vetting buyer offices. The big
So
spaceship looking stuff.
where are the offices in Reading?
They're on the campus is like very spread out, but the
Right,
major part of it is on Millerstrasse,
right.
on the corner of like Fenstrasse. It's like right behind Charité, actually like a couple of blocks behind.
Okay. Oh, didn't know that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have a location in Oberstraße.
Okay, okay. Yeah. We're directly by the S-Bahn station for vetting. That's where we are.
Okay.
Like literally directly in front of it. Yeah.
In front of it. Oh, I know. Oh, I know where you are. Oh, the big building right there. I
Yeah,
go there
the
every day.
massive,
Okay.
it
I
looks
don't,
like a spaceship.
yeah, yeah. I've been there a couple of times. I just didn't associate that with wedding because it's sort of like on the border to
Yeah,
downtown.
it is. It's on the border, but it's considered vetting, so you know.
Yeah, so, but we could waive. We just have the Secret Service between us.
Yeah,
Now that
right, right. Oh gosh. Okay. And then
so yeah.
so the number of people we see up at top, it's 2 out of 9, but it says that there's 4 viewers.
This is uh, I, yeah, exactly. So maybe I don't know. I yesterday I do believe there was like a short introduction which I couldn't make because I was in a different roundtable. I'm just hoping that somebody will send us some interesting questions,
Yeah,
and otherwise, well, we can meet in between and have a coffee.
yeah. So out of those 4 viewers that we have, minus us two, I'm assuming we're 2 of the 4 viewers.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to write it in. um, yeah, but a lot of interesting stuff. So you're working with the Institute of Health.
Yes, I'm a neurologist by training, but I moved over to, well, actually the Berlin Institute of Health has now become part of the Charité, so moved back into the Charité, but I'm the Clinical Study Center. I'm the medical and scientific lead in the Clinical Study Center.
God,
Um,
and you must know
I know everybody.
Andreas Horn.
Yeah, sure, of course. I know him quite well, actually.
Yeah. So funny enough, my partner is actually doing, he was supposed to be doing a neurosurgical residency at Charité, but he decided to work with Andreas Horn to go into research. So I think they're on the same campus as you guys now.
For sure. It's just the question if he's programming in MATLAB right now or if he's doing hands-on work.
TBD. I don't know. TBD. Yeah. Oh, what a small world. Very, very small world.
Yeah, actually that's my field of expertise is neurology. I know Andreas fairly well.
Very nice. Very nice. Do you also work very closely with Dorothy? Forget her last name, but she also works out with the accelerator that you.
Yeah, I know her very well. She's from the accelerator in the BIH.
Yeah.
So basically we run, or at least help 2,000 trials at the Charité, and as soon as we have external partners coming towards the Charité, then Dorothy and I usually confer or tech transfer. It depends. So they really do the tech transfer side of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Either in or out. If it's us going out, then it's Dorothy. If it's a company coming in, so with Israel, we have the Israel Innovation Project right now with multiple companies. Yeah, I'm the lead on that. There's 200 companies, 69 broke down to 25 at this point.
Okay.
And they're coming in through the tech transfer. When they go out of the Charité towards towards the real world, that is through Dorothy.
Very interesting. Okay, great. So you do work a lot with tech transfers. Yeah, we started getting a lot of requests actually just recently with a lot of different tech transfer institutions across the globe reaching out to G4A, but we've never really worked with a lot of them before. And a lot of the focus that we have is, on commercial partnerships, a lot of different investments. So we're more on the commercial side of pharma, and not that we necessarily stopped looking at the R&D side, but that now kind of lives with a different group within the organization. And so a lot of the times we don't know what to do with these tech transfer, companies, but they're all very interesting, and I think they're much needed. But interesting that you guys actually work closely.
Yeah, my background is really tech transfer, and because of the DIGA now in Germany, and the real virtual change in hospitals and research, that we're doing much more on a digital level. We focus on med tech, also together with Israel as just
right.
Startup nation number one. But now with COVID, we have a lot of interaction with pharma again. So we run both arms.
Right. So do you guys also? So with the whole DIGA, do you also have companies through Charité that you're taking through?
That would be Dorothy doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I meant, taking them through or out. And so it's either a company that's a startup out of the Charité, or we have startups together with the Charité coming in, sort of in and out concept. And so Dorothy helps companies go out, and a lot of them are med tech. Yeah.
Got it. In a variety of therapy areas, I'm assuming, right?
Every therapy area out there. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
So the clinical study center, what we've done is it's this year we've brought it together with Professor von Kalle from Heidelberg. I don't know if you know him, but so we now have 120 people working just on trials. Really, is what we've done, and we've centralized them as much as possible to be more efficient.
That's super, super interesting because, we were originally looking at the Duke network to run potential validation and clinical trials. I'm really curious, do you work with current pharma companies that are trying to validate digital solutions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. And we actually, we want to do more of that at this point. Just to put some numbers out there, we need to trying to service study so that we need to have 1,400 patients in the next 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's all around COVID, so we have a little bit of a flood right now in one direction, but we're trying to balance that out as quick as possible.
Okay.
But we're obviously have a priority right now to deal with the Charité is also now coordinating the whole nationwide effort. So Malta asked, our boss that the Charité coordinates it for all of Germany. So it's a lot of work. It's fun, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it sounds. I know what you mean. It sounds fun now, all sounding easy, but it's a lot of work. Okay.
So we like challenges, and
yeah.
Challenges.
And is the funding, most of the funding for all these trials and validation trials come from, is it grants or is it like privatized funds, corporates? Everything.
Everything. Okay. Everything. We have large multinationals for inoculation studies. We have the BMBF for basic science. So we do a lot of sort of facilitating support. So.
Okay.
Finding the KOL and then the key opinion leader doesn't usually have the type of experience we have in running trials. So the COVID trials, for example, are all an umbrella trial. We have one ethics and we have 65 amendments and 60 trials. And that's just
Got it. Very interesting. Yeah.
You're welcome to come visit anytime. I can't wait.
I had no idea. I don't think I understood how much validation and trials you guys undertake for like digital solutions. I actually had no idea. I knew of everything that Dorothy's doing. She always invites me to be on the jury panel for the new set of companies. But I knew you guys obviously did a lot of the research, but I didn't realize how much of it was focused on medtech.
Well, medtech's, that's really been the new focus. Together with the dean's office, we said we're not strong enough in medtech, and so that's why we're pushing that. And there's, every second day, some researcher will come to me and say, on a web page where I can interact with my patients and so on and so forth, or a wearable. And then on the day number 2, they're talking about security in Germany.
Right.
And day number 3, we're up and running. No, that's a joke. Like 6 months, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Very cool. Okay. I didn't know that. So I'm assuming, with your KOLs and HCPs, you guys, your Charité, you must work very closely with them. What about like the payers? Do you guys have very close relationships with like a lot of the larger insurance groups around Germany that are adopting tech?
Insurance companies? Sorry,
yeah.
Yes and no. It's not, there's no strategic partnerships in that sense, so no long-term cooperations. It's always around a certain theme, and that's usually then in cooperation with the KOL for the question at hand.
Okay.
So no long-term, no strategic relationships that I'm aware of. A lot of research projects and funding, but
Got it. Very interesting. Huh. Very cool. We should talk more.
Yeah, we should. Nobody's. I'm waiting for questions though.
I know. I'm waiting for questions.
We see each other every day. We just don't know it.
Right.
Yeah. So where are you from? You have your English is excellent. Assuming that seeing as you're.
Thank you. I hail from San Francisco. I actually several years ago to work for Bayer, and so now I first started out in Leverkusen, and then I know everyone laughs when I say that, but it is really funny. I'm still shocked I ended up with Leverkusen, but just moved to Berlin about 2 years ago, actually. So Berlin is so great. I love it here. It's awesome. And again,
I agree.
Yeah, so Leverkusen is very different. It's a different city. It's a different world.
Oh, we have 5 people now watching us. I do believe the number changed. Maybe we're still waiting for questions. Everybody, please feel free. here in Berlin, we're both waiting for you to ask us questions about eHealth. So,
yeah.
maybe it's not working technically.
I don't know. TBD. TBD. Oh, it seems like that last person left. They probably were like, oh, we don't want to ask questions. Yeah. Who are the 4 people? It would have been awesome to have everyone on a video.
I agree. It went from 5 back to 4 now. Yeah. It probably isn't the wrong session.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to
say? I was just going to come to that because my background's from Detroit basically, but I moved to Germany when I was 12, and I was after training in Germany, I was leaving Germany, and Berlin was where I felt very much at home. So I agree with you. Berlin's great.
Yeah, very nice.
But I was in southern Germany on the Lake of Constance.
Oh, that's super nice.
Yeah, very beautiful, but I wasn't easy to move on.
Nice. That's really awesome. Yeah, I still miss, I don't know about you, but sometimes I just miss like walking out because, San Francisco's surrounded by the bay, right?
Right.
And you always smell the ocean like everywhere you go. And so, that like distinct feeling of walking down a city street smelling the ocean, like there's nowhere that has that. So I always miss that about San Francisco.
That's an interesting point. So have you been on the northern coast of here, north of Berlin to the ocean side? It's very different than San Francisco for sure, but you do have this.
I've been meaning to go, but I have not been yet. So that's on my list. I wanted to go this summer, but I wasn't able to.
Well, the suggestion is you go to the main train station, and there's an ICE that with the final destination is called Bad Binz. Ah. And Bad Binz is quite nice. And so I've never taken the train from the main train station. I've taken a little bit further north. You can actually arrive around 10 at the beach, walk along the and be back in town by, we're back by 9 p.m. in the evening. So, but it's doable, and at least it'll give you the smell of the ocean.
That's nice.
Not like San Francisco.
Good tip. Very good tip. For those viewers, the 4 that we have on, if you're in...
And if anybody wants to know when the train leaves, they have to ask the question now.
Right. Maybe I can ask a question because, I feel like we work with the same people, but in different ways, I feel. What are some of the challenges that you see, when you're driving? Because a lot of the work that you do is very focused on, clinical research, but also, technical research. So I think it's a bit different from like the problems that we see as like a commercial team trying to commercialize some of these. Like, what are some of the biggest problems that you see, especially for companies in Europe?
With regards to what exactly? Now, just to be sure that I'm not on the wrong track.
Yeah, so just with regards to scaling their digital health solutions, finding the right evidence and the validation, or maybe even funding. Like, what's the biggest kind of hurdle for some companies, So I feel like you see it in a very different perspective,
right? Yeah, I see it from the perspective of a researcher. At the Charité, I think that would be the first level to answer that question at. And then I've seen it actually at another level, but it's not answering your question. I see a lot of countries from outside of Germany companies from outside of Germany coming to Germany now. So they're actually deciding not to invest in the US and to invest in Germany because of the DGOM, because it's, where you could prescribe aspirin, you can now prescribe an app with the same, possibility of getting refinanced. So how can we find that app that's going to change the world? And that question, I guess, would be, from outside and for the researchers at Charité. For the researchers in our hospital, it's finding a software solution. There's so many startups or larger companies and everybody's still, it's sort of like going into the Wild West. So who do you place your bet on? And that company then really has to go through restrictions, especially, I'm not sure how it is elsewhere in the world exactly, but even in Germany it's different. In Berlin and in Bavaria are more difficult than other states. They have to go through the whole process of data security and connecting to the system of the hospital. And all of our researchers are dependent on software solutions from outside because the hospitals are not developing their own software.
Right.
So, and I've talked to, well, I won't say hundreds, but almost hundreds of companies at this point. Yeah, because there's so many. I mean, Berlin, Rosenthaler Platz, they call it the Silicon Valley of Europe right now. So
yeah.
I think that's the main challenge right now with so much happening is figuring out the right steps to take at the right time. And the first one is going to be the DIGA and the data security aspect for anybody. That would be my answer. I don't know if that's right.
No, I mean, no, I think that's a very fair answer. I also find it quite interesting how a lot of global, because we also get a lot of requests there too, right? Because of the DIGA now, and a lot of, I think, from a perspective of pharmaceutical company, because, we're so used to taking, if you look at our entire value chain, we're used to doing the R&D and then to like taking it commercial, right? And so a lot of companies reach out to G4A trying to understand, what do they really need to get through the DIGA approvals? But it's also very similar. I mean, you need evidence, you need validation and credibility. It's not like you just fill out some paperwork and hope for the best, right? But this also takes money, right? It takes capital to scale that too. And I think a lot of companies forget that. Because, Germany, yeah, I guess it's quote unquote cheaper, right? But at the same time, it still costs money to run a trial, even if you're a digital company, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the evidence, so at this point, the DIGA is still kind of new and just slowly also sorting themselves out a bit, but the evidence is going to be evidence that's derived around anything coming from the FDA or the EMA as some kind of outcome. So it's, mortality, morbidity, and quality of life. And so the companies that we meet with there, I really discuss with them a lot about, what's the right patient-reported outcome and to quality of life, because if you're in a mobile setting, you're usually working with a chronic disease. And a lot of companies don't know that at that point, and then, which system to use. And then it's the question, are you looking at patients on boards, or are you looking at, patients that can download an app, which is also possible at this point. And then there's actually quite a diversity at this, right now on how much something can cost. And it's more about how to do it quickly and efficiently and cheaply. It's the trilemma, to do it good, well, and cheap.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, and I find it so interesting too, because I think there's a huge need, and I appreciate the DIGA, but at the same time, I think a lot of startups are really like they don't understand also how much work it's going to require actually to get through the approvals. I think all they hear from the media is, there's just like new legislation. It's great. Like doctors are going to be able to prescribe it. But I'm like, hold up. You're going to have to show outcome. You're going to have to show evidence and validation. This requires like longitudinal data. Like this isn't just like some nice algorithm with like, 40 patients that you ran a trial with, right? Like this is being prescribed to people, like, and so it'll be really interesting to see, I think, what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, you cannot, now I hope nobody's listening right now. No, I know people are, I hope they are. It's like asking somebody, well, would you take that inoculation or not? And it's only been tested on 300 people. And it's basically the same level of evidence also for anything that people are going to just prescribing. And I agree with you that there's, it takes, one should take a moment to dwell on that. decides to go
Yeah,
those directions.
it's really interesting. Yeah, because I know a lot of companies, you know, they were just like, oh wow, you know, Tia, it's going to be great. Like we're gonna apply, but I'm like, you have 3 people in your company and you have not shown outcomes just yet. You know, so yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see, I think.
And usually they need to then have some kind of partner, typically in some medical setup. So if it's a hospital or family practice, and the hospitals and family guy will look at the company. I mean, if there's 3 people in it and only one of them's fully hired or whatever, you know, the hospital's usually going to
Right.
you know, making any type of long-term dedication.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what we're, you know, as GFRE, what we're trying to do is to make sure that that support system is there, right? Because not many people understand still how to, I mean, it's still new for Germany too. I mean, in Europe, right? To prescribe digital, you know, whether it's digital therapeutics or whether it's some sort of like a digital software as a medical, you know, whatnot, but it's still very new for Germany. And I think, you know, what we're trying to do is trying to figure out how's the best way to support some of these companies, whether it's, you know, getting them access, because hospitals like Charité, right? You guys have a lot of research and you have a lot of data, right? And you have you have access to the HCPs, you have access to patients. And also pharmaceuticals do as well, but for very specific certain like therapy areas where I think as hospitals have a more like wider breadth of therapy areas you guys can choose from. But we're still trying to figure out, you know, how do we support some of these like companies, you know, to find that validation and to find the evidence, because it's very expensive, you know, for them to run a trial.
Right, trial design, yeah. But we have quite a few. What's interesting, just to, and actually, you know, it's gone live at the other side, so now we can just stick on the 2 of us. But the artificial intelligence, so providing that companies their intelligence, that's something that's up more and more. Where to explain to the companies that you can't take the data of patients out of the hospital because by law in Germany, but you can take the parameters that you calculate, you know, as part of your business model. That's been a sort of a typical thing the last time. It was wonderful meeting you, Sophie.
This was really great.
I hope everybody else enjoyed it, and maybe next time we'll have more questions to discuss with other people also.
Absolutely.
I learned a lot.
But thanks, and enjoy the rest of your week. Yeah, this is great. Hopefully, you know, you can visit us here, but hopefully our paths cross in the future as we dive health into the future. All right. See you. Bye.